right, the book of Daniel. Now, just so you know, this is the part of what I'm using in the study, the prophecies of Daniel by Lehman Strauss. He's got a lot of great stuff. And so I'm using this as kind of like the foundation, but I'm also going with, there's so much about Daniel. I'm using several different commentaries and things to kind of pull information and try to put this all together, because Vira's been after me for 8 years now to do this study on Daniel, and then she's been asking everybody, and of course nobody would do it, and I understand why. It is a tough book to study, because it's got so many connections to so many other books of the Bible. But it is I think it's a key book, especially in the day in which we live. It is so relevant to how we are to engage this culture that we live in. So let's go through quickly, just a little introduction. Of course, I want to start with some words from David, and this was from Psalm 138, verse 2. I will worship toward thy holy temple, and praise thy name for thy loving kindness and for thy truth, for thou hast magnified thy word above all thy name. So the importance of His word. And we have talked about this, I don't know how many times, about we don't read His word. We don't meditate on His word. This past weekend's Sunday school lesson in Joshua was talking about, do not let this word depart from your lips. Meditate on it day, night, everywhere. But yet, we as Christians, there's a very small percentage of us that actually read and study the Bible on a regular basis. So we see right off the bat how we've got to understand how important His Word is in studying His Word. The Old Testament. Just looking at the Old Testament, you have basically 3 divisions. The Torah, the Law, the first 5 books of the Bible. Of course, we know who Moses wrote those. The prophets, Joshua, Judges, Samuel, Kings, Isaiah, on and on. And then the third part are what they call the writings. And this is where you have the Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ruth, and Daniel. So we see Daniel is omitted from the books of the prophets. And that's kind of, yes?
There was a time when the early transcribers of biblical knowledge didn't want to include Daniel in the Bible.
Yeah, okay. And why is that? Do you have give a reason?
I can't reflect on it, but I remembered it.
Yeah, probably, and it's understandable, because it's kind of it's not a pure book. The book is unique in terms of how it's divided up into really a history book, a history section, and then a prophetic section. So they didn't look at Daniel as being a prophet primarily, I think, because what was he doing? He was a statesman. He was working in the government. He was, they didn't see him as purely a prophet. So that may have contributed to the fact that the book of Daniel was not included in the prophets. We see Daniel as being almost like a historian. In the first 6 chapters of the book, it's really about the history of what was taking place in the time in which he was living, and some of the things leading up to his current time. So Daniel seems to be as much a historian as he does a prophet. But of course, if you look at Matthew 24:15, it says, Daniel the prophet. Those are the words of Jesus. Jesus recognized Daniel as a prophet. So much of the New Testament is really, you're going to have to know a little bit about what was going on with Daniel in order to understand a lot of the prophecies that are in the New Testament, especially Revelation, because they are so connected. So again, it's he had that prophet in him, and a lot of prophecy in the book. Now, the history, of course, Daniel lived to be a little over 90 years of age, based on what we can gather. He witnessed the demise of Judah's kingdom by Babylon and then the Medo-Persians. In 722 BC, the Assyrian Empire captures the northern kingdom of Israel. So he sees this taking place. In 606 BC, Babylon and Nebuchadnezzar defeats the Assyrian and Egyptian armies and overtakes the northern kingdom, which was already controlled by Assyria. And then we see Babylon now taking hold of the southern kingdom. And this is when we have Daniel and his buddies, the first exporting of the Jewish people. And then in 598 we see a second deportation of the Israelites. You see the burning of buildings. You see the transport of the king and the queen. And then you see in 587 the final attack on the Jewish nation where they burned Jerusalem. And then the temple was destroyed and they gathered all the things from the temple and carried back. So a lot of things going on. And then the thing about Babylon, how great it was, but how quickly it fell once Nebuchadnezzar died. Within 13 years, they were history. And King Cyrus, the combination of the Medes and the Persians, in 539 BC, conquer Babylon, and King Cyrus says, okay, all of you that have been captured by Babylon, you can go home now. I wonder where he got that leading to do that. But anyway, let's talk about the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel is a book of faith and the absolute sovereignty of God throughout the entire earth. So we have two significant phrases. Two significant phrases. One is there is a God in heaven. And in the second chapter, that is going to appear more than, I think, right at 5 times in that section. The second phrase, the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. And that was in chapter 4. And also you can go to Genesis 14, 22 through 23, where it talks about the Most High God. And the context in which these verses relate this Most High ruleth and Most High God is that He is the possessor of heaven and earth. He owns it. Heaven and earth. So the whole point of those two verses and what we see in the book of Daniel is that the God of the Bible, the Christian God, is sovereign over the affairs of men and of nations. It says in chapter 4, verse 17, He removeth kings and setteth up kings. There's a lot going on in the world right now. There's some things happening. And if we believe these verses of the Bible, then we understand that He is sovereign and He has complete control. So the things that we see taking place right now are all under His control. And it's coming down to some pretty interesting stuff happening. And we're going to see some interesting changes take place in the next few years. The book has one author, Daniel, given to him. All of the book of Daniel was given to him, Daniel, by direct inspiration of the Holy Spirit. As you read the book, you can get that. It's like he's got direct communication going on between God and the Holy Spirit. He's so in tune with what's happening.